Have you ever heard of an empire so terrifying that its reputation alone could make entire cities surrender? That wasn't science fiction, it was the ancient Assyrian Empire. They were masters of a weapon far more insidious than swords or siege engines: psychological warfare. Today, we re-diving deep into the chilling tactics that made the Assyrians one of the most feared powers in history. The Assyrian war machine was undeniably effective. Their armies were well organized, their technology was advanced, and their strategies were brilliant. But their greatest strength wasn't just on the battlefield, it was in the minds of their enemies. The Assyrians understood human psychology, especially fear, and they exploited it with ruthless efficiency. Their goal was simple: make the very idea of resistance so terrifying that surrender seemed like the only logical option. How did they do it? It started with propaganda. Before an Assyrian army even arrived at a city's gates, tales of their brutality would precede them. These weren't just campfire stories, they were carefully crafted narratives of absolute devastation. Assyrian kings would commission detailed carvings, called reliefs, to be displayed throughout their empire. These weren't your typical scenes of royal grandeur. They showed Assyrian soldiers flaying enemies alive, impaling captives on stakes, and stacking heads into pyramids. Imagine being a visitor to the Assyrian capital, Nineveh, and seeing these graphic images carved into the palace walls. The message was crystal clear: this is what happens to those who defy us. These reliefs were a form of ancient social media, broadcasting the empire's might and cruelty to everyone, from foreign diplomats to their own subjects. Scribes would also record these acts in excruciating detail. King Ashurnasirpal II famously boasted about his conquests, describing how he burned cities, blinded prisoners, and covered pillars with the skins of his enemies. These accounts were meant to be read, copied, and spread far and wide. It was a calculated campaign to build a brand of terror. When the Assyrian army did arrive, the psychological assault would intensify. Their siege tactics were a spectacle of intimidation. They would build massive ramps, roll up towering siege engines, and fill the air with a storm of arrows. But it was what they did to the first captured soldiers that was truly horrifying. They would often perform their most brutal punishments in full view of the city walls. Soldiers and civilians watching from the ramparts would see their comrades being tortured and executed in the most gruesome ways imaginable. This wasn't just random cruelty, it was a live demonstration. The Assyrians were showing them, this is your fate if you do not surrender right now. This created a powerful dilemma within the besieged city. The leaders might want to fight for their freedom, but the terrified populace, having just witnessed the Assyrian horror show, would pressure them to open the gates. Internal division and plummeting morale were often enough to break a city's will to fight. Many cities, hearing of this fearsome reputation and witnessing the preliminary tactics, simply gave up without a single battle. They would send emissaries, offering tribute and submission, hoping to avoid the infamous Assyrian wrath. For the Assyrians, this was a massive win. A surrendered city meant they acquired new territory, resources, and taxpayers without losing soldiers or spending months on a costly siege. Psychological warfare was not just about being cruel, it was about being ruthlessly efficient. By investing in fear, they saved blood and treasure, allowing their empire to expand at a staggering rate. So, the next time you think of ancient warfare, remember the Assyrians. They taught the world that a battle can be won long before the first spear is thrown. The war for the mind is often the most critical one of all. What do you think? Were the Assyrians brilliant strategists or just brutal tyrants? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the dark side of history, be sure to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.